McLaren is definitely one of the biggest disappointments of the 2023 season, and it was the worst debut that Piastri could have imagined. On top of that, Norris pitted 6 times, and it just went to show that the team has regressed massively in form, something that Zak Brown has been under scrutiny recently. Now, what seems to be a very huge issue for the team is that they don't see an improvement anytime soon, and it could very well mean that deep and profound changes are coming in Woking. Zak Brown definitely has the hottest seat in the Formula 1 world right now. And while everyone thinks that he'll get a pardon due to the team actually having a rookie that drives an F1 car for the first time in his career, the situation is much different. The exit of Andreas Seidel was much more serious than one would have anticipated, and it seems like the former team principal of McLaren has recognized that the project he believed in is not going to be a successful one, and the reliability issues of the 2023 car are definitely going to hurt the team's aspirations to fight for high points finishes anytime soon. Oscar Piastri had the worst debut that he could have possibly imagined for himself, and one question that pops into his head right now has to be, why did I deny a secured seat in Alpine? Sure, Ocon wasn't anything better compared to his teammate Norris, and while Gasly would have definitely been voted a driver of the day hadn't been for the amazing drive of Alonso, it's evident that this is not where both teams want to be. But for you to have one driver retired due to electronic failure, and the car not wanting to restart itself after changing a steering wheel, and another driver pit 6 times, and to have such high tyre degradation and issues with the pneumatics after being considered the best of the rest in the previous years is definitely a strong and bold statement for the team. Piastri was positive after the race, not wanting to say anything bad for the team or the car, but when the camera caught his face in the garage, he was seen shaking his head in utter disappointment. His team principal, Andrea Stella, spoke about the issue that kept the rookie from finishing in the points or finishing the race after all, as he added, "The electronic damage was further down the line around the steering column, so the steering wheel wasn't the problem. It was a problem with the harness probably. We're investigating, not fixable in a short time." It seems like issues are just piling up for McLaren, with the team acknowledging that they went wrong with the design earlier in the year, when the MCL 60 was actually presented to the grid. Keep in mind that the team has a very angry driver in their lineup named Lando Norris, whose patience and loyalty are slowly but surely wearing thin now that the team has the potential of becoming the biggest disappointment compared to the 2022 season. The limited pre-season testing prohibited the team from finding the deep issues of their car and fixing it properly. But it seems like the whole philosophy is wrong, and one couldn't help but wonder, was sacking Ricciardo the right thing to do? McLaren is going to pay $15 million to the Aussie for him to sit down as a reserve driver in Red Bull, only for him to be replaced by another driver who seems like he will struggle with the same issues of the car. Lando's car was also seen being filled with a pneumatic fluid during the pit stop, something that Stella has spoken about after the race and tried to explain to the world as to why Norris has kept pitting to pile up a total of 6 pit stops in a race. When talking about Norris's race, one that was a tragic comedy to say the least, Stella added, "There was a pneumatic pressure leak on Lando's car. We discovered this leak relatively soon in the race, then we knew that it was possible only to do 10-11 laps each time before having to refill. We decided to stay in the race. We decided to try and stay at least within 1 lap from the leader within the last 10 laps. Then if there's a safety car, try and see if there was an opportunity. We did 6 stops." While everyone would think that Norris would be the driver in the worst mood from the previous weekend, along with Esteban Ocon, the Briton was actually very happy with the pace that the MCL 60 has presented, given the fact that he expected a limited performance and a huge drop in competitiveness prior to the beginning of the season. Norris said that he was able to make a few positions, but then the car just proved to be a true turmoil to be driven, and the most positive thing that he was able to extract from the weekend was the fact that his mechanics had a lot of pit stop practice due to the issues of the car. All jokes aside, the situation is very dark in McLaren currently, and there is a huge chance that Norris won't be here in the upcoming years with the Woking-based squad. The disappointment among the fans is enormous, and many of them are calling for Zak Brown to withdraw from the sport and to go back to the IndyCar 500 where he originally came from. Now, where are all of McLaren's issues coming from? How does a team that was constantly fighting for the lead in the previous 2 to 3 seasons come to this in a matter of 2 years? After all, they did have issues in the first race last year, but apart from the top 6 drivers last year, Norris was the only one able to snatch a podium in Imola. Now, even finishing in the points would be a miracle for them, and according to James Key, the technical director of the team, everything comes from the regulation tweaks that happened in the 2023 season. Key believes that a change in philosophy that was triggered by the 2023 Formula 1 rule changes is the only thing to blame for how the MCL 60 has performed, and with McLaren trying out the new spec in the wind tunnel, the team optimally decided that it would be difficult to recover performance with the 2023 car with the package it was currently running. Therefore, the team decided to go through another route in September 2022, and it seems like it didn't turn out exactly the way they wanted it to. The call was made too late to prepare the full new package for Bahrain, which is why the team is instead aiming to make a big leap when it's initially introduced in Baku. Key furthermore added, "Where this happened actually is when we took the 15mm floor step. So we all agreed that as porpoising protection, which was very sensible given at the time last year that it was still quite a major issue. It began to improve for everyone as things improved during the year. That sounds very small, but these floors are huge and incredibly sensitive. Look at how much downforce it generates, massive. So when we did it on our car, it actually gives us a much bigger loss than anticipated. It seems to have affected different teams in different ways." Furthermore, Key went on to say that if we're to look at last year, there were probably 2 camps beginning to develop, one in which the team was and one in which probably the majority of the other teams were. And when the team took the 15mm step, it was really a big knock for the team. And from what they knew at that time, the team thought it was not working and that they needed to change directions entirely with these geometries. So, with the timing of the regulations and the fact that the team took a particularly large hit, one thing has been revealed as a certainty for them. They needed to change direction quite late, and it hurt them severely in the further development of the MCL 60. One thing that they would definitely look forward to is the new wind tunnel facilities, but the benefits of this will be harvested at the beginning of the 2024 season, meaning that as things currently stand, Norris and Piastri are going to have the worst season that they could have possibly imagined. And what Key had to say regarding the call being made so late has definitely disappointed the McLaren fans. So when he was asked whether it was frustrating to make the call so late, the technical director of the Woking base squad added, "Absolutely, I mean it's frustrating because to be honest, the route we're on now seems to be pretty prolific. It's doing what we hoped it would do. There's still some work to do, the development rate on that is so much higher than we had. Had the reg been earlier or had we clocked the fact that you actually need to do a different thing with this 4 weeks earlier, we wouldn't be talking about it right now, to be honest." With that being said, what do you think about McLaren's pace as presented in the first race of the season? Do you think that they have what it takes to return to the top of the standings? Let us know in the comments down below.